7 o'clock. We have two commissioners absent, Commissioner Bresack and Moisen. What's Jerry's name?
What's
I
that?
was trying to think of Jerry's last name. I was blanking. Okay, are there any items that members of the public would like to bring forth? Seeing no request to speak, let's move to the consent calendar and a review of last meeting's minutes.
So I'd like to make a correction or an addition to the minutes,
Okay?
and that is that, David, what's in the minutes is that we voted no on things, I think. I got to find it now.
Item 4.
Yeah, but it doesn't, it just says that the vote was passed 4-3 with us opposed. And I'd like to have, because I noticed in the city council report to staff that the reason we voted no wasn't correctly stated. And I think at least in the minutes, it should be correctly noted as to why the three commissioners voted no. So that if anybody looked in the future about an item, they would see in the minutes a kind of a summary of that.
Is the paragraph before the motion, does that capture the dissenting views?
Who were the three no's?
Those were the 3 no's, but I think it would be helpful, and I know we've done it in other cases where when it comes to the votes, we've been tagged with, who voted no and why.
Okay.
And I think that's just helpful, particularly when we run into things that are close votes.
Would you prefer that we sort of name the concern in the body of it, or would after the motion?
There are 3 concerns raised here.
Right.
You're asking him to identify by individual.
Who voted no? Because in the staff report, it said who voted no to the council and why. And at least for me, what I voted no for was not written accurately. And so then at city council, they see this no vote and they don't have an accurate picture of what I voted no and why. Because the staff report, and then what was mentioned at the council meeting was that the minutes weren't approved, so therefore there were errors in it.
Well,
So the staff report isn't matching what the minutes are saying, and it's like, to me, it's confusion.
Absolutely. So is the first phrase there capture?
So I would recommend that you, in the above, before the motion paragraph, you number each of those concerns, and when you discuss Bear, Lorella, and McTighe voting no, put the number, reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3 next to their name.
That would work.
I think that might be the easy way to address it.
Okay. And so
I was number 1.
you were number 1, Ken number 2.
2,
Okay.
and the
And-
materials board was,
And I wanted to see materials,
Right.
actual
Was there-
materials.
So is a general concern about the specific plan?
I don't think anybody else expressed that.
It was the architectural?
It's the fact that it doesn't meet the specific plan by this, I mean, it's exactly what it says, right?
The architectural guidelines, right?
Correct, for the Sherwood.
Because we didn't capture that in this form of the minutes, but in the staff report to council.
It didn't say that. It said that I was concerned about the building height of the building next door, and that's why I voted no, which is not true. I did comment on that, but it wasn't why I voted no.
It was with regard to the architectural guidelines.
It was not standard with what the guidelines said, and specifically the item number 6 shows a picture, exactly what Vedmo's being proposed, and it says, do not do this.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will amend that.
any other comments?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes by unanimous. Wow, 5 of us.
That's unanimous.
All right, moving to the matter up for public hearing. 13-D-16 et al. Do we have a staff report?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The project before you has several components to it, including a mitigated negative declaration, design review, use permit, and subdivision application for a vesting tentative map for a mixed-use multifamily residential project, commercial building at 897 North San Antonio. The building will include 2,056 square feet of office space at the first story, 4 residential units at the second story, 1 level of at-grade parking. The proposed project will include 15 parking spaces at grade with access via a public alley at the surface parking lot. The project was heard at the July 17th hearing, Planning and Transportation Committee meeting, and was continued to a date uncertain to address following concerns laid out in the staff report. Those included the photo simulations. The photo simulations, there was a concern that they did not accurately reflect the building scale, siding, architectural details, materials, colors, and landscaping. The photo simulated perspectives have been revised, staff believes, to respond to the concerns of the Planning and Transportation Commission, and they are shown in the project plans and in the photos above. In addition, landscaping was also a concern that landscaping should be enhanced along the sidewalk at the corner of North San Antonio and Sherwood, and a planting strip should be located at the sidewalk, between the sidewalk and curb along North San Antonio. The applicant has revised the plans to incorporate a revision with a 4-foot wide planting strip, a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and increased planting area between the sidewalk and the building along North San Antonio. The sidewalk along Sherwood Avenue was also revised to a 5-foot wide sidewalk with planter strips 3 feet wide. At points, at tree wells, there would be 4-foot pinch points. The applicant has also incorporated, in response to improvements at the corner of Sherwood and San Antonio, a semicircular planter box with bench that's part of a passive plaza element and a gateway for the Sherwood Gateway specific plan. The applicant has also provided an updated materials board, which I can provide to you. The applicant also has additional materials that they will present during their presentation if you would like to review those. The Commission's comments were that the materials board was unclear, it did not provide actual material samples, and so we believe that the materials board does represent the materials on the building as proposed. Comments were also raised that the north elevation was largely a blank wall and required attention to reduce the bulk and the scale of it. To improve compatibility and quality of the materials on the north elevation, the applicant proposes a stucco wall finish in place of the former block wall, stone veneer and horizontal siding along the north elevation. And with these modifications, staff does believe the project has architectural integrity and appropriate relationship with other structures in the immediate area. You'll also note on the north elevation the adjacent structure next door. The location of that structure was revised to be properly placed on the elevation and also in the photo simulated drawings. The applicant has also proposed storage and bicycle facilities. The Commission was concerned with the lack of bicycle and storage units that may result in clutter on balconies. As a result, the applicant has proposed a series of bicycle and storage units for each of the residential units, adjacent to the Class 1 and Class 2 bicycle facilities. In In addition, the PTC was concerned that construction management plan would need to be modified, the original condition number 24, to reduce construction-related impacts along Paso Robles Avenue. The condition was modified to prevent on-site street parking of construction-related vehicles and construction-related equipment, and that should be noted in condition 24. Also, the applicant responded to outdoor storage on balconies. The commission was concerned with outdoor storage. Staff recommended condition number 12, which is incorporated into the staff report, to prevent outdoor storage in residential units and to prevent a clutter on the balconies themselves. Staff did receive one comment letter from James Wing, which was provided to each of you, and he voiced support for the project. He did not have any concerns. As outlined in the findings, staff recommends that the Planning and Transportation Commission recommend adoption of the initial study, mitigated negative declaration, approval of the commercial design review, conditional use permit, and vesting tentative map. This concludes staff's presentation. Unless there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Not at this time.
Okay. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Sean, is that loaded on here?
Good evening, members. A little low here. Good evening, members of the Commission. Jeff Potts, SDG Architects. I'd like to thank staff for all their hard work on this. I think Sean has pretty much covered most of my presentation, and as such, I will be brief so we have time to discuss. Just to refresh, we're looking at a roughly 7,000 square foot building with 2 office spaces on the first floor on the corner of San Antonio and Sherwood, and one further up the block on San Antonio. The second floor will be 4 residential units, and the parking is accessed from the alley and is partially covered under the building with 6 uncovered spaces there. Based on comments from the previous meeting, as Sean had noted, we added a planter strip along North San Antonio in lieu of just the wide walkway. So we now have a 4-foot planter strip with a 5-foot walk, and then a little bit of additional planting against the building. That does help bring the scale down, be a little more friendly to walk down the street there with the volume of traffic that you have, kind of make you feel a little more comfortable walking down that street. We also were able to work with the city and increase that whole sidewalk side on Sherwood, so they allowed us to push that curb 1 foot further out into Sherwood because we had already bulbed out here, and they felt that you were coming out there anyway. And so based on that, we were able to increase the planting along there and still provide a 5-foot sidewalk along there. There will be some small encroachments at the tree grates along the new trees here on Sherwood Avenue. And we did add the sort of plaza area here at the corner and a little bit more detail and planting there at the corner. Basically, as Sean said, we revised the first floor plan by sort of configuring the required bicycle lockers and bicycle racks, and then adding 4 storage spaces, 1 for each unit above, to sort of help with the concern that there wasn't enough storage here and things would end up out on the decks and things. So everybody will have their own private lockable storage unit there that they can put their own bicycle in, or skis or things like that, and not have to lug them upstairs and clutter up their unit. And then there was also another comment about adding a little bit of entry definition to each of the units. And so we did kind of create a little bit of a vestibule at each of the units to give them a little bit more privacy at the front doors there. So we did work very hard to get the photo sim and our color drawings and all the plantings and everything dialed in to be, as as close as possible. Again, the building meets the Sherwood Gateway guidelines as far as sort of breaking up the massing along the street, and there's a lot of in and out with the doors recessed back away from the sidewalk. The balconies up above recessed away from the sidewalk. We basically have a mix of materials with a metal siding sort of accent element that'll give us a nice feature as we come down and approach the project from the south. Stone veneer and wood siding and stucco massing. We did go in and revise the color scheme, so we basically removed a lot of the darker, richer colors and the more contrast, and went for a single stucco color and a single wood color that are much more closely matched and a little bit more harmonious there. As Sean noted, we provided material samples, and I also have here a window sample and a sample of the piece of railing for in front of the Lexan balcony rails. The windows and all, the brand is all weather. It's basically matches with the storefront very nicely. So we'll have storefront downstairs, which will be the clear aluminum, and the all-weather windows upstairs. They're kind of a nice cross between a commercial and a residential grade window, and they have all the operating features that we need for the residential portion of the project. And as I noted, we went back in and tried to color match the elevations as tightly as possible. I will note that we did meet with a couple of commissioners after we made these revisions, and there was some concern about the amount of materials. You know, we looked long and hard at it, came up with a couple scenarios, and in the end decided that this was really our preferred course of action. And so that's what you see before you. I mean, we were using some very nice high-end materials. We're not trying to skimp on materials or colors or any of those things. So that's sort of the direction we took. Again, this is the Sherwood Avenue sort of south elevation as you approach. We've incorporated sort of the plaza area here, and believe we have a nice sort of feature element as you approach the project from downtown, and just kind of trying to show you the flat elevation along with the rendering there. On the north elevation, as discussed, we kind of went out there and really fine-tuned and measured this building adjacent and got it just in the right place, revised the materials in this area to get the block off the building, and you know, we've sort of had discussions internally and with a couple of commissioners about the potential for a mural in that location to, you know, temporarily, because there's no room really here for planting, as you can see, temporarily enhance that area there. Certainly something we could come back to work with staff on. It could be a local artist. I think somebody suggested a high school art competition of sorts or something like that. And, you know, we're certainly open to doing that to enhance this wall as you're coming into town. And this is just the sort of enhanced view from across the corner at that corner feature element, and you can see the, you know, nice kind of articulation in the massing there. At this point, we're hoping that you'll accept staff's recommendations and approve the 3 resolutions before you. And as I noted, we would certainly be open to working with staff and or coming back later as a condition to discuss the mural in the plaza. And there was actually one other note on my site plan that I'll go back to that didn't pop up for me. You know, based on sort of reviewing this, we'd like to consider, and we'll have to work with Public Works on this and engineering, maybe sliding the 2 trees that are at the corner down more towards the ends of those planters. There's several feet of planter at each end before you get to the tree, and I think that getting that green down towards the corner there will enhance that corner elevation a little bit more. So with that, I am here if you have any questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have this is, I'm sure you had a reason for doing this. Could you go to the first floor plan, please?
Ken, can you turn your mic on?
Yep. And the restroom is peculiar. You have to like go into the parking area to go to the bathroom. Why did you do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's actually underneath here, it's not well defined here, but there's actually a walk all the way around this that's ADA compatible walk as well as differentiated from the parking lot. You know, our thought here was this office is too small to have its own bathroom. And, you know, so having a shared bathroom there allows them to have that use. And this office is large enough that depending on the user, they may come in and construct their own bathroom, but it wouldn't be a requirement of renting that office to do a TI where you were putting in a bathroom.
Okay. It just struck me as a really odd place to put a bathroom.
You don't go through your garage to go to the bathroom?
We just have a hole out in the backyard, so it's
Any other
different for
questions?
us.
Yeah, I have a question. I was,
Yes.
in the planting plan, I wasn't sure what the plant was that was in that semicircle, which is, you can just look at this. I mean, it's the semicircle that's at the...
Here,
Yeah.
Plaza?
the plaza, there's not a plant currently in the circle you're talking about there, or in the
I'm talking about
in the
there's
raised
that
planter.
wall, there's a raised planter, and I can't, I mean, I looked to try to determine, I mean, you've got everything else marked out except that one area. And I was hoping that maybe there'd be some flowers or something that would add more color to it, because that's a real prominent area and just wouldn't want to see just grass or something in there. But that was just,
Yeah, we'd certainly be willing to.
and the other question I had was, were most of these plants natives, you know, drought tolerant? I'm not a planting expert, but it was just a concern I had.
I am by no means a landscape expert.
Exactly.
Either, and a landscape architect is not here, but I believe that they, follow all the drought sort of tolerant guidelines and water usage guidelines.
So won't the trees will be worked out with the staff and Public Works?
The
David?
locations of those trees or
No,
the types?
the type of the trees.
The types, I believe, that are in the landscape plan now were directed by staff and Public
Staff.
Works. The mix
Okay.
of the
Just
trees
confirm.
along here were predetermined by city staff. Is that correct, Sean?
Yes, so the trees that are proposed along North San Antonio, we did review the project directly across the street and the trees that were incorporated into that site. So the holly oak is original to the site across the street, and so are the non-fruit kind of cherry blossom trees are also from across the street. And we reviewed those with Public Works, so it follows a similar streetscape pattern as along San Antonio. No changes were made to Sherwood.
Wanted to clear that. So just one quick question. In this, you are suggesting maybe working with Public Works to move those two trees towards the corner?
Yes.
That one rendering that you have across the street looking at the property, it looks like you have moved it in?
That's
in
correct.
that, is that correct?
Any other questions?
well, I did just actually go back to the picture.
Oh, sorry.
Just,
This one?
this is a comment. I mean, the way you have the parking underneath, you have 1 and 1, and then unit 2, 2, and then 4 in the corner. And then on the other side, you have 3, 3, and then 4 in the corner. I live in a complex very similar, and it's, if I was unit 4, I'd be kind of ticked off that both my cars had to be parked in the corner. You might want to consider moving the one that's in the middle between 3 and 4 to the other side, and that way the 2 4s are together, and the 3 at least has the handicap parking and not in the corner.
Yeah, I think that we did that so that 3 of the units had their cars right next to each other, and 4
Yeah.
was kind of the unlucky guy. And the handicap stall is marked as an office stall, so we'd certainly be.
I just it was a comment. Just as somebody that lives in a complex, like I'd hate to be number unit 4 and have 2 cars that are in that corner.
I believe 4's space is wider, though.
Yeah. So anyway, just was that if you swapped 3 with 4, then 3 would be the one that's offset, but at least 3 would have one of them that's not in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, no other questions? We'll save comments for discussion. I don't have any requests from the public to speak. If there's anyone here that wants to speak on this subject or this project, you need to fill out a form and bring it to us right now. Seeing no one rushing to fill out a form, I'm going to close public comment and open it up for discussion. And why don't we start with you, Mocha?
Oh, I'm the lucky one? All right. I did have an ex parte with the architect of the project. Just wanted to state that. It's fortunate or unfortunate, but it looks like most of our commercial projects are prominent locations in the city since we don't have that much space. So every project becomes a very focal point. And this one, again, because of the way it's in a corner lot and you drive up from San Antonio or coming from El Camino, you get to see this project from every angle. I am happy to see the changes because the issue we were having initially were that first the scale of the project was not defined properly in the 3D that was presented in front of us. So that was really throwing us off. The color scheme, what was in the renderings and what was presented to us in the last meeting were not so accurate or similar, and that was another confusion which was up here. And what we want to make sure is that whatever we are approving is what, whatever we see is what we're approving, so we don't know if it's the 3D or is it the actual material board. And I'm going to go through the 7 points that we had actually asked at the last meeting. One was the photo simulations, and I think that has been worked at. The scale, the angles of the building, I think everything now looks how it should look. So I'm pretty happy to see that. The details and materials, I was a little hesitant initially for that corner element where you have the metal, because my concern was that it doesn't really jive with everything else that's happening there. But with that little bit of inclusion that has been done with the same material over on San Antonio side, I think that at least gives a balance on this side of the elevation. I still feel it would have been nice to have something on Sherwood Avenue, which would tie it in a little bit more. Having said that, I'm very comfortable with the way the materials have worked here. I did go with these 3Ds and looked at the project across the street. I just wanted to see real time. Now that project has a lot more subtle colors because they don't have any of the the contrasting balcony colors or the metal. But I think I'm kind of pleased overall. Initially, my concern was that if you see the detail under the overhang, that's more of a dark metal, and then all the windows and doors seem to be aluminum. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to work out, but I think they've done a good job of balancing it. And I'm happy with. And again, it could be because I see this so much that I can understand how these colors are going to work. And I know that some commissioners do have a concern on how these samples will look, but I can visualize them, and I think it'll be a nice palette for this building. The landscaping plan is what I'm the most happy about. I know that it is something that was not discussed initially with the applicant, but they did go back and took our advice, worked with the staff, and I'm very happy to see this landscaping strip because some of these projects are, they're right there, and it makes a huge difference if we have some buffer with landscaping, regardless if it's a single-story or two-story building. If we have nothing which can break that facade, I think if we go to one of the renderings, which is from San Antonio across the street, the corner rendering, there was one view which was this one. I mean, it makes a huge difference because my concern last time was that this corner was really just plain right in front of you, and this corner element with the metal was just standing out a bit too much. But I'm hoping that they can actually work out with staff and Public Works about moving these trees in, because I think it gives a better buffer. Because if you go to the other view they have where these trees are not there, this building, and then I'm not comfortable with it. And so I think the trees definitely make a difference. And so number 2, in my eyes, have been addressed really nicely. I still would like, if this does move forward, that we do put at least a suggestion or a condition that they work with staff and see if at all possible to move the trees the way it is shown in this rendering. Number 3, I already talked about. Number 4, we did discuss when we had met the architect that the north elevation, I mean, they've done work on it, and we understand nobody wants to invest too much money on it, which makes sense since another building might come next to it. But we would highly encourage, and maybe I would like to see it as a condition, if this does get approved, that there is some sort of a mural which can be worked out with the Art Commission or maybe come back to us for approval. But it'll be really nice to have something on that wall till the next building gets built or whatever happens down the road with that. Number 5, like the storage concerned, I'm glad they took that and did something with it, because I know even if they hadn't done anything with it, we know that down the road there are issues with people putting stuff on the balcony. So I'm happy to see that. I did have that concern about the bathroom. I looked at it, and I know we can't monitor what happens inside, but it was just something that you look at it, I'm like, oh my God, if I'm in that office, I have to walk around to go to the bathroom, that's going to be kind of awkward. But that's just an observation, nothing to do with what we are doing up here. A construction management plan is all taken. So in my eyes, I think the points that we had given and the guidance that we had given to the applicant, they have followed it. So I'm actually happy to support this project with the condition that the trees are looked at, if they can be moved a bit towards the corner, and that the mural either comes back to us or is worked at with the Art Commission.
John?
Okay, so I would like us to all see the materials for the railing and the windows. And I don't know if that means we can pass them around or we take a minute break here, but, you know, I'm old and feeble, and it's hard to see the stuff from a distance. No, that's close enough. I just, just a question on this. There's Lexan on either side of this? Behind it. Okay.
And that's for the noise.
Okay.
That's required.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, you know, Ken, make you feel like you're in jail?
You don't have to pass it, I can bring it around.
Be careful, that's sharp on the end.
Yeah, watch the sharp edges. So, I'm gonna make my comments. First, ex parte discussions. I did speak with the applicant several days ago. I also received an email from Phoebe Bresic, who is on the Planning Commission. She's also a resident of the town, and she expressed to me her concerns that there may be still too many different types of materials. And that's actually the issue I have with this project. I applaud the applicant for dealing with a very difficult site, but let's go to the elevation that shows the pointed corner. That one, no, without the trees. There's one.
I don't know if I don't think I have that one.
Yes, no, yeah, okay. So, there are just too many different materials, too many different textures, too many different tonal ranges, and, while I agree with Malka that, moving the trees closer hides the problem, shrubbery should not, and landscape should not be used to fix a fundamental problem with materials. I just can't get comfortable with the number, variety, and tonal range of the materials. So this project for me, as presented right now, is a non-starter. With regard to the other conditions, we talked about restricting parking on Paso Robles because somebody from Paso Robles came and said that was a problem in the last project. But it seems to me we need to make sure we don't move the problem to Del Monte, Chester East, Portal. And I would encourage us to change those conditions so that, in fact, we don't move it to somebody else's street. The whole intention here is There's got to be a parking management plan, and it really can't affect any of the neighborhoods in the surrounding community. So as I said, I think everything else about this project is fine. I don't know if it's too many materials, too wide a tonal range, too many different textures, but I am not comfortable supporting the project as presented today.
Ken?
First, I would like to compliment the architect, especially on the photorealistic simulations. I think they're gorgeous. It's really impressive. I think it's the first time I've seen one in which it was done correctly, and you can actually see what the building will look like when it's completed, and it's at the proper scale. And I was sort of amused. This particular picture has the trees moved out of the way, and you have another picture where the trees are put in your other desired location. It's kind of amazing what you can do with a click of the mouse. I really like this project a lot. I think you've done a remarkable job. It's nice to see someone doing something on that corner. The corner is a blight, and the buildings next to it are not a whole lot better. And I think this project is extremely attractive, very nicely done, and I think it's a great project. I will have to disagree with my colleague. I really like this particular view, so I'm not sure exactly why John has such a difficulty with this. I actually think it looks extremely attractive, and I want to commend you on putting together a very nice design on an extremely difficult site. I think it's going to be a tremendous addition to the community. It's a little bit, I just drove by it again today, and it's going to be unfortunate coming up El Camino and looking at that blank wall. I think putting some kind of a mural there until the rest of that block is developed is probably a good idea. Unfortunately, that wall is going to be a sore thumb for a while. And I think it's excellent that you were able to do a realistic, properly scaled photo simulation of that, because there are a couple other buildings in town where this situation exists, and it was really hard to see that from just standard flat architectural drawings. But when you see this, you know it's going to be a problem for a while. So it's unfortunate, but it's sort of the price of getting some new investment in town. So I am more than pleased to support this project. I think it's a great project.
Mike?
So I'd like to give kudos as well it was really nice to see that the comments that we made from the prior meeting were embraced and corrected, and everything about this project I really actually like. I think I look at this project, and I know we did a good, bad, and the ugly, and the project at Distal has some similar elements to it, stone and metal and colors, and I really like that, and I think we all agreed to that, and I think this project will look the same way. So compliments to, this is the type of building I think that's unique in that it gives a village characteristic that's not monotone, the whole building, and as was commented prior, they've done a great job. I really don't have much to say because I think it's great. And it makes me proud to say, wow, I can't wait to see it get built and see what it looks like and say how close does it come to what we see here. And it's great that it's going to City Council, hopefully, and it will look exactly what we saw and not change and not be on the fly. So I'm really commend staff for really holding the line and making sure that everything's done accordingly. My only comment was just flowers and, trying to make the shrubbery not just all green, but I figure that's something that it will get worked out over time. I do also agree that something needs to be on that wall, and the Art Commission would be the perfect place to help assess what would look great. I mean, those people are more certified than I am.
Okay, well, I concur. I think this is my compliments to the architect on taking every single comment that we made and addressing them in a thoughtful way. And I think this is perfect example of a project that came to us, approved by staff, that we thought was good, but not great. And we tried to give the architect input without specific directives on, you have to do it this way, in these colors, with these materials. And they were able to put their stamp on it and bring it back to us and make a better project. I like the addition of this plaza and bench. I think that's very friendly to pedestrians, and it is complemented by the generous addition of landscaping. I mean, I remember what we were looking at, and I think if you had brought the before picture and this new, it would have been even more dramatic improvement highlighted. So I think that's just going to add so much to that stretch. In terms of the material boards, I not only appreciate having the board, but I think that your selection of colors, or your change in the selection of colors, was huge, because before it was jarring and there were too many colors. And if you look at this, though there are a number of materials, the stone, stucco, and siding and trim all are toned down and are very complementary of each other. I think that I don't have any issue with the number of materials. In fact, if it was all one or two, I think it would then look like sort of a vast expanse of a block. Whichever material, if you did all stone, it would be too much. If you did all stucco or siding, I think it's just, I like the way you've done it and the colors, and I agree that it's kind of a more harmonious blend. And I think that this corner, I like it. I mean, the wall panel appeals to me. So I think if you move the trees closer, it's not about hiding it for me, but
Just softening it.
softening it. And I think the plaza and that bulb out really kind of make it feel more inviting in general. I think that you improve the north elevation as much as you could. I don't know how I feel about a mural on that piece. I almost feel like you kind of want to hide the north elevation. You don't really want to draw even more attention to the dullest wall. And a mural that would be colorful and maybe completely not in touch with this style of building may either be out of character or draw more attention to a wall that you are really trying to draw less attention to. So I'm not inclined to require a mural, but I would suggest that they explore it further with staff, and I'm comfortable with staff making that decision. And then in terms of the other, it's key to have more storage. I think that was, something that everybody benefits from. I have no issues with the construction plan and adding that condition, as well as the storage on balcony. I can't imagine that any CCNRs would not have included that. It's kind of standard operating procedure for any common living situation in a public area that you would include that. But it's good that we've included it. So I think that this is, I'm really pleased with this. I think this project is really going to elevate that corner. It's going to be a great complement to the building across, which is also a really well done project. Sure.
It suddenly dawned on me that rather than a mural, maybe some kind of a muted geometric design on that north wall. Nothing that, just to add a little interest, not to necessarily, if it were a mural and it were brightly colored or it were a picture that someone wanted to look at, it might draw attention to it. But if it were just a geometric design of, some, not necessarily in the style of Picasso, but something fairly relatively bland, but of a little more interest than just a blank wall, might be helpful. And
Do you think that's something we need to decide, or are you comfortable with having?
I'm just making
them
that, I don't know, he's the architect, I'm
No, but
rank
you
amateur.
wanna-
I just, pardon
You
me?
want
wanna-
them to come back to us, or can staff deal with it?
I think that the architect can probably work with staff on that. I don't think we need to, I'm just making the suggestion that, and I think Ronit made a good point, that you don't necessarily want to draw attention to that wall. I mean, it's not terribly attractive, and we're sort of stuck with it. And I think, part of the problem is when something like this gets built, the public doesn't understand that the reason the wall is undecorated and doesn't have any architectural features on it is because sooner or later there's going to be another building like this built next to it, and so you can't. And so people, there's some unhappiness. Why did they do that? So maybe by decorating it a little bit in a subtle way, that might mitigate that a little bit.
So
That-
we
that was
leave it
my
up to
comment.
staff to see if they think it should come in front of us or not.
Sure, that would be fine.
I had a question for staff, and it has to do with the parking management plan. After listening to John talk about Paso Robles Avenue, I was wondering if it's a way to make it more generic about residential parking, residential streets.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Because
There is
Chester's-
a
go ahead.
distinction here across San Antonio is a single-family district. This project is in a commercial district. And so, limiting the parking to those environs might be appropriate. There
something-
are homes, though, non-conforming homes in that district as well. So,
So I don't know whether it's, whether we say within the Sherwood master, some way to define that area, because Chester Circle is just up the street, and that would, to me, I think there are homes on there as well, and I hate to have, like John says, all that parking just show up on another street with another residence, and
yeah, we could limit it to Sherwood and Acacia
some, yeah.
as a way to.
It is better
contain
to
that.
just limit it rather than
And-
trying to get everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the other thing is, I would add that there's an effort to contain it on site as much as practical.
Well, certainly at some point you can contain it on site, but after a while you can't. By the way, what is the paving plan for the alley?
Beyond the applicants paving their portion, we don't have one.
So it's going to still be a dirt road? Yep.
Historically, it's been an unpaved alley,
Yep.
and so it's not something that is on our capital improvement list.
So he's going to pave it up to the property boundary? Okay.
So on that 20, could we say like within the Sherwood Plaza specific plan? I don't know, essentially that defines the area, right?
Yeah, I would prefer to, I think, be more specific and list the
Give the streets.
there,
Okay.
Sherwood and Acacia,
Okay.
with a caveat that they try and keep it on site as much as possible. And then,
Yeah.
Agree with that.
Okay, do we want to entertain a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve 13D-16, 13-UP05, and 13-SD01, 897 North San Antonio Road, with the conditions and findings that have been presented in front of us, with the correction to modify item 24 to be restricted to Sherwood and Acacia, as well as on-site parking as much as possible.
And how do you want to, if at all, address the issue about the mural, whether there is or isn't?
It's just a suggestion at this point, right?
Yeah, I would
So
just
we are-
let staff deal with it and let it happen. I wouldn't put it in a motion.
Okay.
And then just a suggestion of looking at moving those trees at the corner with Public Works.
Perhaps we
Second
could.
that.
But is that a
we could-
recommendation, or
Could
is
we
it-
could we add a condition that the applicant look at both implementing his own suggestion of moving the trees as well as some form of subtle decoration on the north wall?
Do you want to put it as a part of a condition, or do you want to, I'm happy that staff will take care of it.
one of the things that motion could could be to consider that prior to council's review, and we could mull that over and present the concern to council.
That would be appropriate. I mean, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I can
Do I
second
have
that.
a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. All opposed?
Okay?
4 in favor, 1 opposed.
And please mark my opposition is the extent of the variety and the tonal range and texture range of the materials. But otherwise, I would otherwise support the project.
Okay. That motion
Thank you.
passes. And now, any commissioner reports? Anyone go to a city council meeting recently?
You know what? I'm embarrassed to tell you that I was supposed to go, and I did record it, and I forgot to look at it. How about
Okay.
next meeting?
Sure.
In other words, 3 months from now?
Whenever the next meeting is, I'll be happy to report on the city council
Okay.
meeting.
Any potential future? Right. David, is there anything in the last city council meeting? Refresh Ken's.
The BevMo was the only issue that I
BevMo
know.
was approved by council,
5-0.
and the parking plaza
Right.
plan was rejected by council.
Resoundingly rejected.
Yeah,
Appreciated the work, but rejected it.
Right.
right. By the way, David,
That was it.
this has to be the best photo simulation I've ever seen. This is pretty incredible.
They're getting better.
Yeah.
It's so realistic. I mean, it's as if they went out there and took a picture of the real building.
Yeah.
It's
So I hope
pretty
that
amazing.
staff will use this as an example for other applicants about,
Right.
this is
I
the
mean,
kind
this
of
is-
quality of work
This is
the commission
this
would
is
love
like
to
the
see.
gold standard. So,
This
Yeah.
is the standard, not even the gold. I mean,
We'll-
this is what we
I
want.
think we're going to quiz the applicant a bit on how much it cost and the effort about
It's
it.
quite
here he is, right here. Get him.
No, we will.
Have to do it.
It's quite
After,
expensive.
not now.
So we can, coach
Okay.
people.
Any potential future agenda items?
I don't have an agenda item, but I do have something that people may or may not want to attend, which is on Saturday morning, the city council is doing the walk around to downtown.
Who's going to be there? Who's attending from our mission? Anyone have
I'm
firm?
planning to.
I'm planning on
Hoping
going. But it's open to anybody in the public.
What time is it? Do you remember?
It starts at 9. I think they're planning on finishing up by noon. I would encourage you to print out in color the renderings that are included in the package, because in looking at the renderings, I was actually surprised by some of the renderings because they don't reflect reality. We have a street that's really very wide on First Street, and that's not accurate.
it's shown.
So it's very interesting to see what at some point we were given and led to believe would be the way it's going to be, which may be part of the discussion, who knows? So, I'm sorry, but I don't know if there are
Sure.
future agenda items.
I will be there, but not till noon. I have to go to the airport, but I will for sure be there. I want to do the walkthrough.
Okay. No other items? We are adjourned.